Hey, thanks again for pressing play and welcome once again to another edition of the Suns Jam Session podcast. Typically, we're talking about post-game podcasts, but it's the off season and we're exploring all the different options that lie before the Phoenix Suns. There's the NBA draft, 52nd pick. We're not going to be doing a lot of podcasts about that old 57 pick, but we might throw one out there. There's exploring the different free agents that exist on the market. We've already done point guards and shooting guards. So if you haven't watched or listened to that podcast, it's a good summation of everything that's going on in that area. And then, of course, there's the trade machine. There's the players that are still on the Phoenix Suns who we can explore trading their contracts and see what we could get back for them. Now, we're not talking Kevin Durant. We're not talking Devin Booker. They're untouchable. Can't touch it. Not touching them. But there are 5 other players on the Suns squad who do have contracts that are tradable. We've already talked about Landry Shamet. We've talked about Chris Paul prior to the news that he potentially could be waived. And Matthew, on this episode, we're talking Deandre Ayton, everybody's favorite son.
Yeah, this day is finally here. DA trade talk. I was at work today. There's a Boston fan interested in having DA on the team. So I don't know if you have any Boston trades out there. We'll see. But there are teams, there are fan bases that actually want him. And there's ways to spin it to where he might be taken by somebody else. This is a fun day today. I've been waiting for this for a while.
Oh, you have. You've been waiting for this one since about December of last season.
Yeah.
Patiently waiting to understand how and why we can trade Deandre Ayton. And that's what we're going to explore on this one. We're going to talk about who and what he is as an asset and as a member of this team, if he's salvageable in the new Frank Vogel era. And then we haven't discussed each other's trades. We literally just upload our little graphics and then we carry on. And we'll talk about the different ways that we can get rid of Deandre Ayton, if you look at it that way, or procure some more assets and maximize what we can get for the former #1 overall draft pick for the Phoenix Suns. So before we get into all of the fun trade talk and rumors and thoughts and feelings of Deandre Ayton here in the middle of June, I do want to remind everybody that we have a fantastic deal from Caesars Sportsbook that you won't want to pass up. New customers can get a $1,250 bonus on their first bet at Caesars. All you have to do is sign up with our code, which is SunsJamFull, F-U-L-L. If you use our promo code SunsJamFull, you will not only have your first bet insured, but you will also be directly supporting the show. So if you haven't already, sign up for Caesar Sportsbook using our promo code SunsJamFull and place your first wager. Again, they'll match it up to $1,250. This offer is accessible only to new customers who are 21 years of age and older and physically present in Arizona. Please play responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP if you or a loved one has a gambling issue. The complete terms can be found in the podcast description. Make sure you follow the show at Suns Jam on Twitter. Make sure you follow me at Darth Void and read my writing at brightsideofthesun.com. You can follow Matthew.
I'm Matthew Lissy.
And we can read your writing at brightsideofthesun.com.
Maybe. Well, right? There is a new owner, right?
Someday.
New manager. Oh, sorry.
Someday. There might be. We might talk about that at the back end of the pod. We'll see. But I have a delicious twist on the Moscow Mule. It's the summer of the Moscow Mule, right? I mean, I've been saying that kind of throughout our podcasts.
Yep.
And I have
been getting busy.
Fever Tree. I have Fever Tree, but I have Fever Tree Blood Orange Ginger Beer.
Okay.
Yeah, right. I'm experimenting. So shout out to my buddy Nate from Southern Wine and Spirits. Knows that I'm pounding these suckers. So, you know, let's try a Moscow Mule with Blood Orange Ginger Beer. Have you ever heard of Blood Orange Ginger Beer?
I have not. I've heard of Blood Orange.
I've heard of Blood Orange. I've heard of Ginger Beer. Let's combine them both and see what we get. And let's start the show and talk some DA, baby. Deandre Ayton is the subject of this here podcast and the subject of much debate. There's a lot of people in the Suns fan base who are diehard DA fans. They feel he hasn't given or been given the correct opportunity to excel and maximize his talents. They feel that in the system in which he has played under Monty Williams since after his rookie year for the last 4 seasons, that he has sacrificed of himself for the betterment of the team. He has sacrificed somebody who is in a typical number 1 pick fashion, demands the ball, demands to have the offense to run through him. No, he has sacrificed of himself, Matthew, to be a role player while Devin Booker, Chris Paul, and now Kevin Durant take on the majority of the offensive load. What a guy Deandre Ayton is, isn't he?
Yeah, let's keep that talk going. This guy needs an opportunity somewhere else. We've been talking about this all season long for the last 5 years. This guy needs the ball more. This guy needs the ball in the post. This guy needs to be, hitting the pick and roll with Chris Paul. Why will they not throw him the ball in the post? Why can't they give him the ball? Find a team that can get him the ball, and he could dominate on both ends, right? Defensively, he was amazing this year. He should have been all defensive team, and he wasn't.
So if you look at his stats and you go on to basketballreference.com, which I know plenty of us do from time to time, you'll see that this past season, he averaged 18 points a game, which was his second highest in his career. His second year in the league, he averaged 18.2. He averaged 10 rebounds this past season, which actually was a career low for Deandre Ayton. He was 18 and 10 right across the board, 58.9% from the field. What's interesting is, have you ever scrolled to the bottom of a player's page on Basketball Reference? And they have what's called similarity scores, right?
Yeah.
And it says the most similar performance arc through 4 seasons. And it gives you kind of some guys that they compare to based on some of their statistics. And they have an algorithm that they utilize. The players that he is comparable to, and it is when it comes to win shares throughout his career, Mitchell Robinson, Mehmet Okur, Caldwell Jones, Tom Owens, Jamal McGlure, Jim Eakins, Jonas Valanciunas, Brad Daughtry, Jared Allen, Ray Felix. Those are quality names, Matthew. Those are some really good names. But the difference is twofold. He's a number 1 overall pick. And if you look at his contract this upcoming year, he's scheduled to make $32.5 million. My issue with Deandre Ayton, personally, is not who he is on this team. It's price for value paid. That was always my argument going into the maximum contract talk with DA. Listen, I like DA. I love DA. I think that he is a perfect fit for this team because he's not somebody who demands the ball, because he's not somebody who demands that the offense runs through him. He's willing to be your 18 and 10 center who has lateral quickness, who has some shot deterrence, has spouts of quality defense and spouts of quality offense. He's great at the mid-range. He's great at the free throw line. But he's not a max center, in my opinion, in this league. And to get $32.5 million next year, which is 24.22% of the league cap percentage, I just don't see the price for value paid. I feel like you can go and get somebody else in the league who averages 18 and 10, and you can do it on a much, much lower contract.
Yeah, Coach says it in the chat too. We seen him get the ball when it was just him and Mikal. The man scored 4 points. That was a deal. The lack of ownership of this guy, of him playing badly, always saying he's dominating, not really owning up to what he can do on the court, and he just failed to do in front of fans. When all of us fans at once are just kind of sick and tired of it. I talked about earlier at the office where the Suns fans were like, we got to get rid of him. We don't want him back. We know Chris Paul's probably not going to come back, but he might on the minimum contract. With DA, we just think no one wants him. But then the Boston fans are like, oh, there's an opportunity there. It might be an opportunity. That's fine. But I'm sick of just being here in Phoenix and just waiting for that to actually happen. The guy's had opportunity. I know we keep saying like he's just the role player next to Devin Booker and KD now. And before it was him and Chris Paul, like the best point guard he's ever played with. And he's probably going to ever play with at the time that Chris Paul was actually playing pretty good the last 2 seasons. There's no excuses. DA's had the chance. He's not the role player that we wanted because he's not. He's had opportunity to have the ball in a lot of situations, and he continues just to fuck up. Put it plain and simple, he continues to fuck up, and he doesn't take ownership of it. He thinks he's living in a different world most of the time. That's fine. He can be happy doing what he wants. But the lack of ownership is what drives me crazy. It's just because it just shows his character that like why people in the whole ownership, not the whole ownership, just the whole actual Suns organization, you hear that they're just kind of sick of him. And it's because he just doesn't care, and he never really has tried to care. When the trade went down in this, when the midseason with Mikal leaving, I said on the podcast, I said it's his fault. It's his fault this trade happened, because if he was to live up to his potential in his 5th year and to show something, to show that he can be that guy to help us win a championship, that trade would have never happened. And who knows what would have happened? Well, we got KD. That's fine. I know we got KD, but because he didn't take ownership of himself on the court, off the court, maybe, who knows? I don't know that story. It's because of that the trade happened, and it's because of that us fans are just sick of it. And there might be some Ayton fans out there still, but we can't do this again next year. This trade, something has to happen. But then after saying that, Vogel's like, we need the big man down there. I don't believe it's Ayton. I don't think he's talking about Ayton.
Well, I'll say this. I remember how upset you were when we traded Mikal Bridges, simply because you stated it at the time. You're like, had DeAndre Ayton played up to his potential, up to his contract, there would be no need to get rid of Mikal Bridges, because Booker had his Robin.
Yeah.
But Ayton could never be the Robin to Devin Booker, and he's not going to be the Robin here in Phoenix. And again, like, to the Ayton stands who are either watching or listening, thank you. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, rate, review. Give us 5 stars, even though you hate the content that we're probably putting out right now, because we're not sitting there just loving on DA and we're obsessed with the size of his shoulders and what he could be. We're talking about what he is and what we've viewed as Suns fans for the past 5 years. And it's consistently inconsistent. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. When it comes to DeAndre Ayton, he's great at talking the talk. He's horrible at walking the walk. And what he's done to this franchise is divided us, because so many people want him to be great. None of us want him to suck.
Yeah.
None of us. But unfortunately, he has. And if you take a look simply in, the past few seasons, and you look at his numbers, they're really pedestrian numbers when you compare him to other players around the league. I mean, so he's 18 and 10 last year. Julius Randle is 20 and 10. Anthony Davis is 23 and 10. Christian Wood, 21 points and 9.6 rebounds. So he hasn't outclassed himself. He hasn't lived up to what the contract says. To what our expectations are is one thing, but the contract's another thing. And if you were to break it down on a per dollar per point and per dollar per rebound, it's not even close how underperforming he's been as a member of the Phoenix Suns. So I'll ask you this question, because you mentioned, your buddy from Boston would still be interested in DeAndre Ayton. Do you think, when we talked about Landry Shamet, we knew that there's not a lot of interest in him on the market, and that's what makes doing Trade Machine Landry Shamet very, very hard as a Suns fan, because there's no one who really would need a Landry Shamet. Do you feel that there are other teams who believe that they would need a DeAndre Ayton?
I don't think need. I think like some teams, like this guy was saying, that's a Boston fan, like, we're missing a piece. They're willing to give up Robert Williams to see what DeAndre Ayton can do. If you have that, that's fine. Go ahead. But I just think it's like, let's just see what he can do. It's not like we need him, right? Maybe if it's a younger team, it's like you can step in and maybe develop with a younger core, like the Pistons. Who knows? I know he probably won't go there. I'm just saying, as an example, that would be pretty sick, pretty nice for some fan bases. They might be excited about that. No one needs DA right now. DA needs development for sure, and he needs just help on the court to get better and just somewhere else. So I think a situation that he would go into would be like, okay, we're getting DA. It'd be like, let's just see what he's made of, because we're going to get rid of somebody else that we just don't want. You know what I mean? And the other fan base. So like, let's get rid of these guys. Let's just see what DA has. That's exciting.
The other side of this is we look at the new CBA and we look at how it can be kind of irresponsible to carry 3 or more $30 million contracts. That's part of the reason why the Suns have made it clear that they're not going to give the full guaranteed contract to Chris Paul going into next season, ensuring that they're not paying him $30.8 million, and they're going to explore options. DeAndre Ayton is another one of those players who, again, making that 32.5, because of his lack of production, that contract becomes a liability. Because if you're not getting that production from that player on a consistent basis, you're not getting that price for value paid. you're negating the ability to have any depth. So not only is he hurting you by not performing consistently, but he's also hurting you because because you still hold on to the asset, you don't have the depth behind it. So it's almost this double-edged sword. Now, that being said, before we go into all these different trade scenarios, do you think Deandre Ayton will be a member of the Phoenix Suns next season?
Deep down, yes, I do.
I do as well.
I just think after, the coaching changes and all that, defensive focus, it's maybe like give him one more shot. Who knows? And who knows if Monty couldn't get anything out of him, if that's why Ishbia got rid of him. I'm not saying Ayton was the reason, but just like maybe he's like, well, if we can get someone in here because that's a lot of money and I know we can't trade him, we might need someone else.
Anytime somebody leaves the Suns, Matthews, it's Ayton's fault. They never should have. They would have kept him if it wasn't for Ayton. I like what Coda Kid says. Coda Kid says if DA was making 15 to 18 million, there'd be teams blowing James Jones's phone up. That's correct. Because price for value paid tells me that this guy's worth about 18 million a year, and
but then
that would be a discount.
He would be so upset he'd be making that much money. He wouldn't even play at all. He'd be like a 12 man.
That's the other side of DA. The personal side is he's always said he was just playing to get to that second contract. And once he did, man, that production level fell.
And that's
good, bad, or indifferent.
That's not life, man. That's not life. It's money for your family, of course, but you got to do your part too, man.
Yeah, and I use that term over and over again, price for value paid. I think that the way that the Suns are going to approach this is Frank Vogel was very adamant about the need to have somebody like a DA on his team. Every great team that he's had has a great rim protector. That could be Deandre Ayton, right? I believe that the Suns will not move on from Deandre Ayton. They might explore a couple phone calls during the trade deadline in an effort to try to perhaps add some quality depth to their team at a good price. But I think that they're going to go, you know what? We're going to give DA a shot with Frank Vogel. We're going to see who this guy is under a new regime. And if he's not cutting it, they're cutting bait with him around the trade deadline. I think that's what's going to happen. And you know what? Knowing DA, that's what's going to happen. Price for value paid won't be there. He's going to diminish his returns a little bit in the market, and then they're going to trade his ass. That's what I think.
Yeah, that's a possibility. And it just sucks too because you can't change them, right? You can't change anybody that they do it themselves. So, but
100%. Well, let's get into some of these amazing trades. We both came up with 4. Interesting. The assignment
you
was
did 4.
3.
I did. Well, one of mine is not really valid, but I just want to put it out because it might happen. I gotta do one of those every pod.
This is true. Should I start or should you start?
Oh, you go first.
Okay,
because I was late today.
Okay, there you go. Matthew was late. For you listening, you don't know that, but Matthew was like 8 minutes late to the pod. And thank you to everyone who hung around in the chat. And everyone was wondering what was going on. Yeah, Matthew almost got fired, and I got
Windows restart, all that stuff.
Never fails. It's like time to log on. It's like, yeah, I'm going to log you off, fool.
1 second.
So here we go. We're going to start with a hot name out there right now, and that's Bradley Beal. I'm going to throw it out there. Why not? Everybody's talking about Bradley Beal. There's a running joke amongst SB Nation folk reaching out to the Bullets Forever site on what your team would give up to get Bradley Beal, and it's a joke at some of the transactions that are being suggested. So I'm going to make a joke of it. Bradley Beal to the Wizards for Landry Shamet and DeAndre Ayton. The reason it works, okay? 1, it gets the Wizards off the Bradley Beal contract. 2, you get Landry Shamet, who can provide you some scoring, and you get DeAndre Ayton because why not? Thoughts?
You know what? If this trade would have happened, I think this is the biggest win the Suns can pull off is a Bradley Beal. I think that'd be perfect because you go all in on point book and you have Beal there. I mean, Beal can probably play the 3-2 if they wanted to stack like 3 guards there. But I absolutely love it, man. I think a lot of these are going to end Ayton's there just because we have to throw him in there.
I'll tell you this: if this trade happened, Bradley Beal's scheduled to make 46.7 millions next season, right? Then it gets really interesting. You start to look at what he's owed because it's 4 years still left on his contract. Bradley Beal next season, as I mentioned, 46.7. The following year, it's 50.2 million. The following year, it's 53.6 million. The following year, which is season 26-27, it's a player option for 57.1 million. There's no way he doesn't fucking take that. I don't care what I don't care what the new TV deal is. There's no way that Bradley Beal doesn't fucking take that deal. This would absolutely obliterate our cap. But I figured 100%. Fuck this trade. I agree. But at the same time, I wouldn't be doing my due diligence as a Suns podcaster and somebody who loves the NBA, not to simply just bring up the fact that the Wizards are actively shopping Bradley Beal, who also is like one of the only guys to have a no trade clause in his contract. Good luck trading him, Wizards. That's a shit contract you gave him.
Yeah, I mean, shit contract for shit contract, though, right? I mean, like I said, contracts don't matter. You can take them on and see what happens after that. But because we never thought with the Chris Paul thing we'd get out of it, and we might be getting out of it. You know what I mean? In a way, I mean, it just depends what he wants to do, but we kind of are. It wasn't as bad as we thought. All right, so you want to start off?
Yes,
with
fire
that?
off
I'm gonna
your
start off
first
a little
one.
explosive here. I'm gonna go straight up Zion for Deandre Ayton. All right.
Okay.
So Zion wants out of New Orleans. I don't know why. Obviously,
probably because all the
location.
women he's impregnated in the area.
Yeah, and you know what? That's a great way to go about it, Zion. You gotta leak those things. That stuff happens to all these players. I feel like a lot of them have these baby mamas and all that stuff. Yeah, get little fingers right there. Yeah. So I think Zion wants out, and then what are you gonna get back? Well, there's some potential maybe with Ayton. I mean, obviously, I feel like the Pelicans fans won't be too excited, but it's an opportunity to be like, you know what? Let's replace him with another big man. Let's see. I mean, they already got a good team. I mean, but they're gonna blow it up, I guess, or something like that. But him and Ingram and CJ McCollum, I guess they don't like. But I don't know. It's a good potential guy just to have on the team back from Zion, because I think Zion's just getting his way out of there. He's doing all this shit because he wants to move out of there.
It's interesting because there are a lot of rumors coming out of New Orleans that they're willing to trade some of their assets in an effort to move up and get Scoot Henderson. So they're trying to work a deal with Charlotte, work a deal with Portland, try to get up into that 2/3 spot and get Scoot Henderson because he potentially could be the future of the franchise. That's why my CP3 deal for CJ McCollum has a little bit more weight to it. I'm like, okay, they trade up, they get Scoot Henderson, they bring they send CJ McCollum to Phoenix, they bring back CP3 to New Orleans. He spends a year playing and showing Scoot the way. It'd be like perfect. But here's the other side of that coin: is other assets that they're having a hard time with. Yeah, you got Brandon Ingram, who's somebody who is definitely talented, and they just have a talented squad overall. I think the only challenge with that trade is the sheer fact that they already have Jonas Valanciunas, and maybe DA playing the 4 could work there. But I don't think that you're going to pay that much money for a guy who essentially would play Ingram's position.
Yeah, that's another thing too, is Ayton playing the 4. It's what he's always kind of wanted to play, I think, in a way. Who knows what to believe with that guy, but if he can be at the 4, that might be, there might be some potential there, right? Teams, come on.
You never know.
Come on. Start spinning that narrative that it's all Monty's fault. The reason why we sucked and he didn't get any attempts.
Shout out to David Ray in the chat. He says, Zion to the Suns, that is a long shot. Then again, I thought KD to the Suns was a long shot, and it happened.
Anything is possible.
Anything is possible. Well, let's talk about another possibility, and that's perhaps sending Deandre Ayton to the Raptors, straight up for Pascal Siakam. The way that I could see the Raptors interested in this trade is Pascal Siakam is owed $37.8 million next year, but it's a 1-year contract. And so this might be their opportunity. They're a team that everybody thought was going to would blow it up at the trade deadline last season, and they didn't. This is an opportunity for them to try to maximize an asset. You could throw something else in there. The Suns don't have much else to throw in there, but Pascal Siakam, who's 29 coming into the season, is an unrestricted free agent next year. His name is going to be unbelievably hot on the trade market, whether it's during this offseason or at the trade deadline, based on how the Toronto Raptors have performed during the season. So why not try to jump that gun, if you will, try to get ahead of the value that he's going to have on the market for half a season and try to bring him in here for a full season? Why not, Matthew? Why the fuck not?
Why not? That's a big question here. Why not? Give him a chance, but it'd be beautiful. I think FVV. I said that right? Fred VanVleet.
FVV. You know me.
When he didn't sign the player option, now he's a free agent. Everyone kind of wants out of there now. They kind of have for a while. Ayton getting back, it's like one of those things with Zion. It's like, well, here's some potential. Maybe something can happen. Maybe we can start off young, give him a new opportunity. That's the way I look at all these trades with Ayton. That's the only positive way to look at it, right?
There's numerous positive ways to look at it, but I just don't know if necessarily getting I'm still worried about not getting the value, and that's all I'm worried about. Coda Kid, Elite Jamster. If you want to become an Elite Jamster, hit the subscribe button down below or whatever it is. Join button. It says, I'm down for all these trades. We love you, Coda
Good.
Kid, and we know you love
Good
Ayton
pod
too.
so
So
far, then.
good
pod,
so
right?
far. We're mowing through it. All right, give us your
Yeah,
second
we're
one.
making the fans
Let's give
happy.
let's give Coda Kid one of the trades that he's not going to like. Come on,
You're
got to
gonna
have
love
one.
this one.
Okay,
You're gonna love this
okay.
one. It's not possible, probably,
This
but
is for
we'll
you,
talk
Coda.
about it. Here's a name you've seen in Suns jerseys once in a while. That is Draymond Green.
Oh
a
man,
player option this year. So I was gonna ask you too. If he resigns, player option, just takes that deal.
yeah.
Pretty good deal, $27 million. I think he'll be making. Trade it to the Suns, right? Get it down to big man. You messed up on Wiseman. Draymond wants out, obviously. Everything's kind of falling apart over there. They didn't win a championship for once. It's not a restart, but you can just add somebody that they think they can actually groom. And I think DA can be that guy with the Warriors. Draymond can come over here, play with KD again. It'd be absolutely amazing to me. So is that possible, though? The player option, can he sign it? Because I don't know if he'll get paid any more than that. And 100%. Then we can just trade it to the Suns.
So he can opt into it. And knowing Draymond Green and his ability to be vocal with his front office is he might say something like that. Listen, I'm going to sign, but what are your plans with me? Do you plan on trading me or am I signing this player option and I'm staying? They're like, yeah, we're going to send you to Phoenix. He's like, yeah, I will sign my player option so you can trade me to Phoenix. It's possible. What the Suns could really do is they could sign him and then go into free agency and get Pat Bev, and then I could just hate the Phoenix Suns all season because I can't stand Draymond Green in any way, shape, or form. So
you don't want him at all? Draymond?
I don't like Draymond, man.
But you realize if we had Draymond
I know
we would have probably had a
is.
title.
I know what he is. You need a fuck shit up guy.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about that before, and the Suns really didn't have one at all this past season. Jay Crowder was our fuck shit up guy. Jock Landale became that a little bit in the postseason and during the regular season at times. But overall, Draymond, I can't get behind it. Now, if it happens, yeah, I'd find reasons to get behind it, but I just don't know if I could, man.
Yeah, Coda Kid again. Great stuff here. Who Dre gonna punch when he gets here? DA.
Ooh, Landry Shamet.
Oh, Landry Shamet. There you go.
Yeah, first thing he would do. Draymond Green would walk into practice, find Landry Shamet, just sock him in the face.
Poor Shamet.
For no reason. It's like it's like a dog pissing on a fire hydrant or marking its territory. That's how he marks his territory. He walks in and punches one guy, and it's typically a guy who can only shoot from the outside, like Jordan Poole.
Yep.
That's what he do.
Maybe it'll turn things around for him. All right. What do you got?
All right. I have one with the Orlando Magic. The Orlando Magic, a team kind of on the rise. They're looking to take that next step. They got Paulo Banchero, who's kind of become my low-key favorite non-Phoenix Sun in the league. I just absolutely watching his highlights, playing with him on NBA 2K. I've fallen in love with Paulo Banchero. They've got a lot of young, great talent in Orlando. And maybe they feel, you know what? We've got a couple guys that we can piece together to bring in DA. Maybe DA is that guy. Maybe they're the ones who are watching just they're the ones tuned in to the Suns Twitter universe, and they subscribe to all the Ayton stands who are sitting there and giving you like the most unique statistical observations on Ayton's game to justify their point when you simply go, yeah, 18 and 10, so 18 points a game divided by, however many million. So he gets paid X amount of dollars per point. Let's put that in perspective. But you look at my trade, and I'm saying we bring over Jonathan Isaac, who's got 2 years left on his contract, $17.4 million, as well as Gary Harris, $13 million for 1 year. And I think if you go ahead and you do something like this, you're saying you're trying in some way, shape, or form to move on from Landry Shamet. But I'm a big fan of Gary Harris. I think Jonathan Isaac it's time for him to kind of move on. Every time he steps on the court out there, he gets injured. And maybe he does the same here in Phoenix, but maybe a change of scenery would do him well. Thoughts on Gary Harris and Jonathan Isaac for Deandre Ayton, Matthew?
I would love it. I love the potential in Jonathan Isaac. I mean, he's always been one of our favorites. Gary Harris, I don't know. He's kind of fell off a little bit, but I mean, who knows? He can revamp his career here in Phoenix and just be a really good bench player, a good scorer off the bench, which would be amazing. It's exactly what we need for that much money, though, too. I mean, if it's making up DA's contract, or they have those two. But the only thing with Isaac is just the injuries. If he can come here and just turn things around, it's happened. Look at him now, man. Fultz is like actually a legit starting point guard in the NBA.
Yeah.
Maybe he just needs a new change of scenery, and that'd be perfect because I'm a big fan of Isaac. So I love that trade, man.
So you're driving home, right? Not from work because you work at home, but let's say that you go over to Chick-fil-A. You go and you get a Chick-fil-A sandwich with some waffle fries and a strawberry shake. You're driving home, you're listening to Burns and Gambo, and they announce that news. This just in. Or you got to do it like Gambo. Like, Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Oh my
The
God.
Suns,
The Suns just traded DeAndre Ayton. They traded DeAndre Ayton. They sent him to the Magic for Jonathan Isaac and Gary Harris. Gary Harris and Jonathan Isaac for DeAndre Ayton. Ayton, Harris, Isaac. Because he says everything three times.
He says
three
everything
different
5
ways.
times. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you heard that, how would you feel?
I'd be okay. I wouldn't be excited.
I think I'd be pissed.
Excited. Would you?
Yeah.
I'd be okay. I love Isaac. I think he has real potential, but yeah, Isaac is too injured. Dirty Squirty says. Old Dirty Squirty.
Old Dirty Squirty in the chat. Isaac is too injured.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fantastic name, Old Dirty Squirty.
You know,
Respect.
I was excited for it when you talked about it, but when it's said, it'll be one of those things where it's like, it's okay. I think I'm more focused on just DA getting out of here in a way, just to kind of restart things. Because I'm not too worried about him succeeding somewhere else. Because if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. Just got to let go, right? It's a bad relationship. You got to let go and just block them on Facebook and delete all the pictures and the videos and let them live their life.
Yes, agreed. All right, give me your next trade, Matthew.
All right, this is my favorite.
Okay.
All right, so this is the guy we've always wanted. All right, Brandon Ingram to the Pelicans for Deandre Ayton.
So one of your trades is for Zion, and the other one's for Brandon Ingram.
Yeah, start spreading those rumors more about, it is Monty's fault that this team fell apart. Obviously, we could not hack it in the playoffs. He wasn't playing DA the right way. DA just, again, needs a new, fresh spot, and that's going to be in New Orleans again. And we get Ingram back, and it'd be the best. That would be, that would be
amazing.
If this were to happen. And he could play the power forward. There you go. Or he can play, Brandon Ingram plays like the small forward. Or power forward, either way. But
him and KD could swap spots.
Yeah, I don't care what they do over there.
Maybe
this is for Ingram.
Maybe this is a Willie Green really misses DeAndre Ayton like bad, so he's going up to the front office.
He was playing his best with Willie Green.
Yeah,
he was that year.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what it is. I miss Willie Green. Willie Green misses me. Give up our all-star Brandon Ingram. It's not invalid, but much akin to by Bradley Beal. It won't happen, and it shouldn't happen. All right, I see that we both have a Pacers trade, Matthew.
Oh, you want to go first? Obviously,
you go first. You go first.
You want me to go first? Back to back snake draft.
Yeah, okay. Snake draft. Who's your Pacers trade?
All right, Pacers trade. Here we go. This is probably one that might work. Miles Turner and Buddy Hield for DeAndre Ayton. So the only sell really with the Pacers is, Miles Turner is making a lot of money. Is he worth it? The DeAndre Ayton potential in a new situation for $12 million more, about $11 million more. There's opportunity there to develop something there. And we have Miles Turner. How good is he, right? He's not the best center, but he's a center that we need here in Phoenix to succeed. And Buddy Hield would be a great bench player. And those two make up DeAndre Ayton. I love it.
Watch.
I don't know why I didn't lead the pod with that. It's been so long since I've done drops. So my trade, so you're saying Buddy Hield, Miles Turner, DA. The money makes sense. I'm saying TJ McConnell, who makes $8.7 million over the next 2 years, point guard, and Miles Turner, who is 2 years, $20.9 million for DeAndre Ayton. So we both had Miles Turner for DA with a kicker. You have Buddy Hield. I have TJ McConnell. So I will start with this. I'm a fan of Miles Turner. If the Suns are going to operate as the Suns did last year, and again, it's tough. It's tough if we don't know if they are who they're going to be, what their offense is going to look like, what their defense is going to look like. Now, we know that offensively, they should mirror a lot of what they've done, considering Kevin Young is still their assistant head coach, the highest paid assistant head coach in the NBA. And he's most likely going to hold on to a lot of the offensive sets that he and Devin Booker and Kevin Durant like to run, which don't necessarily involve the center. And that's why DA, to some people's chagrin and to some people's statement, you can't pass yourself the ball. That's why DA has had unfortunate statistical seasons. And for me, it's more of an effort thing. Right. That's always my thing with DA. I don't consistently see the effort. You look at Devin Booker, you look at Kevin Durant, you look at Chris Paul, you see the way they approach the game, you see the focus, you see the hustle, you see the grind. And then you got DA, just kind of not doing that. That's the why. So in this scenario, I think that Miles Turner at $20 million a year is a quality contract for a center who gives you kind of what you need. He's an interior presence. He's somebody who definitely can play defense, shot deter, somebody that I think that Frank Vogel would thoroughly enjoy coaching and playing with. I don't think that he was there. He's been with Indiana his entire career, going back to 2015/16. If you take a look at that team, that was coached by Frank Vogel. So he's somebody who has played under Vogel in the past. Last year, he averaged 18 points and 7.5 rebounds. So the points production was there. The rebounds necessarily, I wouldn't say were, but he averaged 2.3 blocks per game. He's led the league twice in blocks per game.
It's perfect.
So you want to talk about your rim protector. You want to talk about the guy who Frank Vogel most likely can maximize his talent, and he's locked in the game. I like Miles Turner. Now, you said Buddy Hield. I said TJ McConnell. I think TJ McConnell, because of the point guard situation in Phoenix, Chris Paul, we don't know what's going to go on. Based on what the Suns want to do, TJ McConnell as a solid and another defensive guy can come in and give you quality minutes. Buddy Hield, I can also see that side of it. In fact, on NBA 2K, that's what I did with the Phoenix Suns. I traded Deandre Ayton at the end of the season, and I traded him for Miles Turner and Buddy Hield.
Both of those are great. I like Buddy Hield. I think he can have an outbreak season this year in Phoenix if he were to come here. But I was thinking too, if you can surround KD and Booker with those two, but also just if you can pull up the Fred VanVleet thing with Chris Paul taking lesser money, I think that roster will be perfect. It'd be insane, right? Right? Money. But I'm just saying, I feel like it is possible if they can penny pinch on the bench. I just think that's a good solid 6 right there.
I will say John Paul Edward de Dios, one of our elite jamsters. Indiana ain't trading Miles. And this is the other side of why I like this trade. I think they would explore that for DA. Who's the only team in the NBA who wanted DA last season when he put himself out there on the market?
Yeah, the ones with the hard on.
It was Indiana. They've definitely been interested in him. And if they got him, they were probably going to move on from Miles Turner. They were going to roster both of them. And if they did, that's an interesting strategy. It would be Turner who would go to the bench. So I think if you pick up the phone, you got James Jones, have him pick up the phone, call Indiana and start exploring it. I think there'd be some interesting talks out there. So again, those are our trades for Deandre Ayton. Is there any one of those that you would do a backflip over?
I think our last trades are the most realistic. Backflip, Ingram.
Yes.
For sure.
True.
Zion, I would, but I just don't know his potential and injuries and all that. And head case, maybe a little bit. Maybe he's just trying to find a way out, doing the Kanye thing to find a way out of the universe. Who knows? That might be the thing that he's doing. And if that's the reason, then come on here, man. It'd be a good fresh start. A lot of fresh starts out there.
Yeah, a lot of ours are definitely unrealistic. I don't think we're getting Bradley Beal. I don't know if I'd want Bradley Beal. Brandon Ingram, I would do a backflip. I'd hurt my back. I'd probably need surgery. But I think
your back would flip off. Just fall off.
I think our last one was most realistic. Something that, again,
yeah,
driving, and Gambo is reporting that on Arizona Sports. I'm excited to hear that. Fuck, Miles Turner's coming here and a good quality asset. Good. Now we have a guy who's going to give us price for value paid, and he's going to give us that effort.
Yes.
Good. That's taken care of. I don't have to worry about that next year. And that's what I'd be excited for. Now, again, I think Deandre Ayton will be a member of this team moving forward next season. And he's going to be on kind of one of those prove-it deals. He's going to be – Frank Vogel's going to give him every opportunity to do what he needs to do. And if he doesn't, they're going to do an attempt to try to move on from him, if not during the trade season, definitely next season. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think DA's had his opportunity, and he will get it again. And it's going to be a lot of opportunity because you have KD. You have KD on the team now. It's going to need a lot of rest. I feel like injury prone. You're going to get the ball a lot. Here we go.
Yep.
See what you're made of.
All right. Well, anything else you want to talk about before we get out of here, Matthew?
I think I'm good. I feel good now. Talking about all these DA trades. I'm a little excited now. I don't know if I can go to sleep.
It's like KD all over again. I'm shaking.
Yeah.
Well, a couple things that we have upcoming for you Suns fans. On Monday, we will be going over all of the free agent. What's Monday?
I'll be at the beach Monday. I'm going to California.
You're going to California?
Yeah.
Where are you going to California?
I'm going to go to Huntington Beach.
Dude,
Laguna Beach.
I love Huntington.
Yeah, I'm going there Monday. I forgot to tell you, I'm going Monday, and then I'll come back Tuesday.
You lucky bastard.
Maybe Wednesday. Yeah, I have some time off.
Go get it, man.
I'm excited to
Shit.
go.
Well, when are we going to podcast again?
I
Got to
don't
get through this.
know.
Do I have permission to try to find a substitute for Monday?
You can, yeah.
Are you okay with that?
I'm excited to take a break.
Okay,
Yeah,
take a break then.
So,
I'm doing the exact opposite of taking a break. I'm getting further involved in Phoenix Suns fandom.
Yeah.
I know that no official announcement has been made, but for those of you who are watching and listening, you'll be the first to know. My buddy and good friend David King is stepping down from Bright Side of the Sun as the managing editor, and I will be assuming that position. It's effective immediately. We're working on some stuff, behind the scenes to transition it appropriately. But I'm super excited to be the managing editor of Bright Side of the Sun. So obviously, I will be spending even more time. I already do what I do for Bright Side. I contribute on the regular. It's just a matter of just managing the writers and ensuring that the content remains the best that there is when it comes to fan sites in Phoenix Suns fandom. So I'm excited to do so. So while you're on the beach chilling, I'm banging out articles about the Suns have the 4th best odds on DraftKings.
Give a man a break. No, this is very exciting. I'm very happy for you. Jamsters, congrats. Yeah, say congrats to John. This is a big day for him. It's been a long time waiting, I feel like. You know what I mean? It was eventually going to happen. You talked about it. We talked about it before, and came sooner than rather. It came pretty quick, honestly. But it's been like what, 3 years writing for him, or how long? Has it been?
Yeah. So about 3 years. I was talking with Dave today, and he forwarded me my first article that I wrote for Bright Side of the Sun. Now, granted, for those of you who are have followed my writing, I know a lot of you listen, obviously. I don't know how many of you actually go to Brightside and read, but I actually started with valleyofthesuns.com. And I wrote for them for the winter of 2019 going into 2020. And then I joined Brightside early in March of 2020. And the first article I wrote, do you know what it was about? Any guesses?
Was it a trade for Goran Dragic?
No. So this was right before March Madness. So I did a prospect preview. What prospect did I preview? Who was I in love with in that 2020 draft? Do you remember? Who was my number one guy? Now, that was the draft that we took Jalen Smith.
Was it Halliburton?
Nope. It was Obi Toppin.
Oh,
so the first article that I wrote for Bright Side of the Sun was March 11th, 2020. And it was about Obi Toppin and the what and the why, and literally the entire world stopped the next day. So Dave's like, "Welcome to Brightside," and then like it all fell apart. I remember writing in my garage during the pandemic. I did like a 5,000 word article on the 1983-1984 Phoenix Suns, a team that finished 500 but made it to the Western Conference Finals. So
that one actually they talked about it, Gambo and them on the show, right?
Yeah,
did they talk about that one?
Yeah. They talked to, it got some good attention on it. But that was Dave's at that point where he's ready to take a step back. He's still going to be with Brightside. He's still going to be writing. He's still going to be contributing. But he just wants to kind of take a step back, much akin to how he took a step down from the solar panel and focus on, his life, liberty, and his pursuit of happiness. And, I have a high bandwidth, as many of you know, considering how much shit me and Matthew do. And I'm like, hey, why not? I love the Suns. And, now I'm looking – I got this email up about, summer league passes, maybe going up to summer league, and something I got to talk to Matthew offline about and see if it's something we're interested in doing.
That sounds like a little bit of fun.
Might be, it might be, 12 hours of basketball all day, Vegas at night.
That.
So again, thank you everybody who supports this podcast and supports the writing that both Matthew does occasionally and I do quite often on Bright Side of the Sun. It really is appreciated. How you guys have supported the podcast, and make sure you hit that thumbs up down below. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you review. Make sure if you're on Apple Podcasts, you give us a 5-star review. We'll read it right here on the pod. Matthew, you got anything else to say before we get out of here, my friend?
No, just send John some flowers, some roses, purple and orange roses.
No, send them to Dave.
Leave him at his front door. But other than that, go home and love your family.